Welcome back, everyone. Grab your popcorn because today's story is packed with shocking twists, emotional moments, and secrets that change everything. Let's jump right in. Let's dive right into the heart of the matter because things are spiraling completely out of control for Willow Tate Kane, and it feels like we are standing on the edge of a massive, terrifying precipice. For months, we have watched this character evolve from the sweet, mild-mannered nurse we once knew into someone entirely unrecognizable. And now, the walls are closing in incredibly fast. It looks like she is about to be completely exposed, not just for one misdeed, but for a whole avalanche of dark, twisted actions that have left a trail of destruction in her wake. But what if the ultimate downfall isn't even about the crimes we know she committed? What if there is another layer to this, a sinister act she is being framed for, lurking just beneath the surface? The sheer anticipation of this house of cards collapsing is palpable, and we have to wonder, when the dust finally settles on this shocking catastrophe, will Willow have absolutely anything left to her name? This brings us to a highly suspicious element that no one seems to be talking enough about: Brooke Lynn Quartermaine. Right now, the timeline is converging in a way that feels deliberately orchestrated, with Drew slowly inching towards recovery, while Brooke Lynn is quietly, methodically plotting in the shadows. Why is Brooke Lynn suddenly so entangled in the incredibly dangerous web surrounding Jack Brennan? We know Brooke Lynn has always been fiercely protective of her family and her interests, but going up against someone with Willow's current ruthless streak, combined with the lethal unpredictability of Brennan, suggests she knows a secret that could blow Port Charles wide open. Is it possible that Brooke Lynn holds the absolute key to Willow's undoing, and if so, what is she waiting for? The tension is unbearable because it feels like Brooke Lynn is setting an elaborate trap and Willow is walking blindly right into it. Speaking of traps, we have to look back at the absolute madness of Willow actually pulling the trigger and shooting Drew not once, but twice in cold blood. The fact that she managed to walk away from that completely scotangent-free is still blowing my mind, but it opens up a fascinating legal and moral loophole. Alexis Davis stepping in to secure that acquittal was a masterstroke of legal maneuvering, even if Alexis herself seemed conflicted and nearly derailed the final defense strategy. Because of the double jeopardy laws, Willow is technically untouchable for the attempted murder of her husband, which is a wild sentence to even say out loud. But this begs a massive question. Did Alexis know exactly what she was unleashing back onto the streets of Port Charles? Or is there a hidden agenda behind Alexis's legal defense that is about to come back and haunt Willow in a way she never saw coming? While the shooting might be legally resolved, the true horror show is what happened next. And this is where the psychological thriller aspect of General Hospital is currently peaking. Willow didn't just walk away. She actively drugged Drew and held him hostage in their own home, turning their domestic life into a literal, terrifying prison. This wasn't a crime of passion in the heat of the moment. This was calculated, chilling, and undeniably premeditated. The criminal charges for false imprisonment and drugging someone against their will are severe, and double jeopardy absolutely does not apply here. How long did she honestly think she could keep a man like Drew Kane incapacitated and hidden from the world? It forces us to question her ultimate endgame. Was she planning to keep him paralyzed forever, or was she simply buying time for an even darker, more permanent solution to her Drew problem? And just when you thought the pressure couldn't get any higher, in walks Felicia Scorpio with a devastatingly innocent update that changes absolutely everything. When Felicia cheerfully informed Willow that she is making arrangements for Drew to finally be able to communicate, you could practically see the blood drain from Willow's face. Outwardly, Willow has to play the role of the relieved, devoted wife, expressing profound gratitude to Felicia for her help. But internally, she must be screaming in absolute, unadulterated panic. Felicia, with her investigative background, might just think she's helping a patient. But could she actually be onto Willow's scheme? Felicia is nobody's fool. Is she setting up this communication channel specifically to give Drew the microphone to expose his wife, or is this genuinely just a terrible stroke of luck for Willow's master plan? Now, I have to pause here and share a perspective that I know a lot of longtime viewers are feeling deep in their bones right now. Let's be brutally honest about Drew Kane. Yes, being drugged and held hostage is a horrific ordeal, but do we actually feel sorry for him? This is a man who has been incredibly toxic, manipulative, and relentlessly controlling. He pushed and pulled at Willow's sanity, gaslighting her and maneuvering her into corners until she practically snapped under the psychological weight of his demands. In many ways, Willow's descent into madness feels like a direct product of Drew's suffocating influence. So, when Drew finally gets his voice back and starts shouting from the rooftops about the evil things his wife has done to him, who in Port Charles is actually going to shed a tear? Is it possible that the town will look at Drew and silently think that he finally got exactly what he deserved? Beyond the marriage itself, there is a massive power struggle looming over the horizon that could shift the entire political landscape of Port Charles. Let's not forget the immense prestige and power attached to that congressional seat. Willow has grown incredibly accustomed to the influence and the status that comes with it. But with Drew waking up, the very first thing he will likely target is reclaiming his political power. If Drew takes back that seat, Willow loses her armor, her public platform, and her perceived untouchability. But will the political establishment even allow Drew back after such a bizarre and scandalous absence? Or will this trigger a massive public scandal that ruins the political aspirations of both of them permanently, leaving a dangerous power vacuum that someone even more sinister is waiting to fill? This leads us to the inevitable standoff between husband and wife and the concept of mutually assured destruction. We all know Willow is desperate enough to try and blackmail Drew to keep his mouth shut about the hostage situation. She likely has enough dirt on his shady business dealings and past manipulations to ruin him publicly. But here is the critical flaw in that plan. Drew is a proud, stubborn man who does not handle being backed into a corner well. I highly doubt Willow can blackmail him into complete, docile submission. If she pushes too hard, Drew might just decide that taking her down is worth destroying himself in the process. What kind of explosive collateral damage will we see if these two decide to burn each other's lives to the ground, and who else will get caught in the crossfire of their toxic war? But Brennan isn't just a physical threat. He represents a massive legal and existential threat to Willow because of the infamous secret box. We know Brennan has been hoarding evidence, keeping a meticulous record of the dark deeds happening in Port Charles. If Brennan is recovering, his first priority will be securing that box. What exactly is inside it? We know it contains proof of Willow's crimes, but does it contain something even worse? Does it tie Willow to an even larger conspiracy, perhaps involving the WSB or pikemen? The race is officially on. If Jack Brennan gets his hands on that evidence before Willow can destroy it, she isn't just looking at losing her husband or her political career. She is looking at a guaranteed one-way ticket to a federal penitentiary. Can Willow possibly outmaneuver a trained operative like Brennan when her own life is falling apart? We also have to consider the sheer vengeance factor driving Jack Brennan right now. Willow didn't just cross him, she actively planned to continue drugging him, to keep him as a helpless prisoner indefinitely. A man like Brennan does not forgive, and he certainly does not forget. He knows for an absolute fact that Willow is the one who shot Drew, regardless of what Alexis managed to pull off in court. Brennan might decide that taking Willow down legally is the most satisfying form of revenge. He could easily hand that evidence over to the authorities, just to watch her squirm, viewing her as a dangerous, unstable liability that needs to be removed from the board. Is Brennan going to be the ultimate executioner of Willow's freedom, playing the role of a twisted vigilante, delivering karma to Port Charles's most deceptive nurse? When you pull back and look at the entire board, the devastation facing Willow Tate Kane is absolute and terrifyingly complete. We are looking at a woman who is on the verge of losing her husband which, let's face it, might be a blessing in disguise given their toxic history. We are looking at the imminent loss of her highly coveted congressional seat, stripping away her power and her public identity. And most critically, we are looking at the very real possibility of her losing her freedom entirely, either through Drew's vengeance, Brennan's calculated legal strike, or a combination of both. She is surrounded by enemies. Her allies are unwittingly betraying her, and her supply of paralyzing drugs is gone. The walls haven't just closed in, they are actively crushing her. But in General Hospital, a cornered animal is always the most dangerous. What unthinkable act will Willow commit when she realizes she has absolutely nothing left to lose? This brings us to the ultimate question, the big mystery that is keeping me up at night trying to piece together. We know Willow is going down, but who will strike the final fatal blow? Will it be Drew, rising from his chemical slumber to exact biblical revenge? Will it be Jack Brennan, using his secret box of evidence to lock her away forever? Or, and hear me out on this, is there someone else entirely, perhaps Brooke Lynn, or even a guilt-ridden Nina, who will be forced to pull the plug on Willow's reign of terror? The fallout from this is going to change the fabric of Port Charles forever. I want to hear exactly what you think. Drop your wildest theories in the comments below. Who is going to be the one to finally take down Willow Tate Kane? And do you think she has one last deadly trick up her sleeve? Let's get the discussion going.